Hello and welcome to Gaming Knuckleheads Talk, the show. I got nothing this week. So let's see. I'm trying to remember which one of us. I believe I remember the order of topics presented tonight. So, but we took that last week to do the whole direct bit and work on dedicating future episodes to directs. So I had my whole opening monologue planned, and hell if I remember. But going back to what we talked about 2 episodes ago, when we discussed things like how pretty much 95% of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 is bad game levels, the level design is bad. That's pretty much our first topic of the night, and this goes for games, levels, features, have at ye, good versus bad design in games, levels, and whatnot. And because on some levels, you can argue that whether design is good or bad is in the eye of the beholder. But I honestly feel like it reaches a point where when is somebody just defending bad design? Yeah, it's like with Labyrinth Zone again from the last time we discussed it. Like, I've played underwater levels and platformers that are much faster, much more efficient than that. Hell, even both Aquatic Ruin and Hydrocity, however it's pronounced, both of those are better designed than Labyrinth. Can you honestly saying that Labyrinth Zone in the first Sonic the Hedgehog game being a badly at what point do you have to say when is it fact and when is it opinion? You guys see my camera fucking up, right?
Only a little bit.
Yeah, we still got to figure that out, huh? But yeah,
could be lighting issues.
The what?
Said it could be lighting issues.
Maybe, but I still see these issues. Like when we do like daytime recording in the other room, Brett and I, it still lights up, and like I don't have the ring light during the day. Yeah, because the amount of natural light that pours, and the fact that these curtains aren't blackout, I don't need the ring light when the sun's up. Yeah. Oh well, thankfully nobody ever complains, but good versus bad game design. Go YouTube.
I think bad game design is like anything where it's not necessarily hostile towards the user, but where it just like doesn't make any sense. No, that I wouldn't say that. I guess just bad game design is where you where I feel like they don't put a lot of thought into it, you know?
Gizmo's saying hello. She's looking for attention, but no thought. You mean like the Pokemon Company?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm not a huge Pokemon player, so.
I saw a video last night. This guy is pretty much like, the game is selling, so it's obviously a good game.
Well, that doesn't necessarily make it.
I mean, the phrase of the day is, say it with me, brand recognition. Can you honestly say that sometimes brand recognition won't stop a bad game from selling? Exactly. I'm going to mess with the lighting setting a moment, but oh, that's cozy. I like that. This is how fucking shiny my forehead is.
I mean, there's like sometimes there's sports games, and sometimes they don't really improve a whole lot over each other. And
Yeah.
they're all based on brand recognition. I don't
Yeah.
good game design personally, but
Yeah.
I mean, if all they do is just update the rosters, it's
You have something to add, little one? You said update the rosters and she started howling. Yeah. What about you, Brent? Good versus bad?
Well, for me, bad game design doesn't solely just follow like if there's like it's not so for me it's black and white. Like there could be times where it's like a game has overall good design, but maybe there's like say one level or one certain like idea or gimmick that they tried putting in that just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fully consider that bad game design, mostly just like a bad decision. But when like what I do consider bad game design is when you play a game and almost like everything that is in that game makes you hate it.
You mean like me in Super Mario Sunshine?
Well, yeah, that could be like sort of a thing, but that's what I'm talking about. Is like if it's like an overall good game, but there is like some like things that didn't hit. To me, that's just like to me that feels more like they took a risk, they tried something, didn't work. If they like continue to try to force that into your later games, then yes, that becomes bad game design because they're not like trying to fix it. But for me, bad game design falls solely to if all of the bad things combined sours your enjoyment of the game like greatly. Like it's not like basically if I give an example, it's like hey, a bump in a road, like hey, one bump in a road on an overly like enjoyable drive. That for me falls into my first sort of thing. Constantly hitting on a bumpy road the entire way, that's more of like what I consider bad game design.
Like the brick road on Lawn Avenue up in Tampa, huh?
Well, yeah, that's a good example of it. Thank you, Kier.
I used to like that road as a kid. Now I'm indifferent about it,
When you were a kid, it's like, yeah, this is fun. Now as an adult, you're like, this is bullshit.
It never really bothers me depending on what car I'm in, though, so.
Well, yeah, that's true, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, but yeah, going back to like the Super Mario Sunshine, like, I mean, I played, and there was a lot of stuff that I just didn't like about it. I mean, I found like FLUDD and like trying to make like certain jumps and whatnot, like the way that some of the landscaping was designed. I just don't think that FLUDD was a good way to go, and that just the way that's like. In the very first world, there's that one level after you beat Petey Piranha where you gotta like jump up and get into a cave. Good fucking luck trying to get up there and get into that cave. It's a gigantic pain in the ass, and I just think it's a matter of bad texture rendering or bad level creation in that instance. It really just that sort of frustration throughout the game killed my enjoyment for it.
Yeah, but bringing also back into there is like, yes, that does kill your enjoyment gear, but also the same thing is that like after that, Nintendo didn't try to bring that into the next big one. Like they didn't try to bring a FLUDD like copy into like say Mario Galaxy.
Yeah, and Galaxy I have a love-hate relationship with. Like there are some stages where the gimmicks are just god awful, like the Toy Time Galaxy. I made it all the way to the star, and then I lost a life because of the damn spring mushroom.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not an aspect of get good, by the way. That's an aspect of you done fucked up. You shouldn't have put that, like, you should have given it like a level of control. Not just like automatic spring along, like let the player decide when they move via the spring.
Yeah.
Because you cannot line up a proper jump when the spring is consistently moving.
Yeah.
But there are other levels, like the whole gravity running around, like the spherical planes. That's fun, you know.
Mhm.
And I found fighting some of the bosses to be fun.
Yeah.
Transfer comets, I'm iffy about. Like, I'm not good at some of them, but it's like obviously Nintendo learned that what they did with Sunshine was bad game design, and they opted to try and be more experimental in the next one. But that still didn't stop them from having 100% everything's good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes down to good, bad game design on fact versus opinion, when it comes down to a matter of opinion, it's like one thing that recently sprung to mind when I was watching critical views on games and whatnot. You can't please everybody, you know.
Mhm.
Well, that's
You
goes
got
without saying.
you just got to do the best you can. Try to make a game as great as possible. And if people don't like it, it's just not their cup of tea, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's that's the revolving point. It's like.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because anything can constitute, whether it's factual or opinionated, anything can constitute bad game design, from the way the game was designed itself to individual levels to mechanics.
Mhm.
Good versus bad mechanics. This is going to be a real sore spot for some hardcores, but maybe it's just like me, but I don't mind playing 3D Zelda, but I don't like playing 3D Zelda because I played Ocarina of Time 3D, and I was following the guide that I was reading,
Mhm.
and I somehow ended up in the wrong room because I was going the opposite direction.
Mhm.
How is it that I can follow a guide to the letter in 3D Zelda and get turned around and lost, but in 2D Zelda I go exactly where it tells me to? I just think that the way that Zelda is one of those games that I don't think should have gone. It should have kept the top down and just used more modern 3D graphics of the N64 era. Ocarina of Time still could have been the masterpiece that everyone claims it is, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's just the only time you catch me playing 3D Zelda is when I have somebody to actually tell me when I'm going the right way or the wrong way to get to where I need to go. It's way too hard to get turned around, and I don't know if that's just me or if that's just an issue that everybody has.
Well, I can definitely see that happening with, say, the earlier 3D ones, especially with way camera works there and all. But I will say that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom at least brought in, mainly because it's an open world area, they had markers so you don't get ass turned around as long as you can't put one down. But in terms of the Ocarina of Time to say Skyward Sword era, I can see where you're coming from, Gear.
Yeah. It's like I got lost looking for where I needed to go in Breath of the Wild because it was just that big of a map. If you compare Breath of the Wild to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the biggest issue with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is it's a pain in the ass to find all the trainers in an area. But it's very easy to mark and know where you're going because it's a more simplistic setup. But Breath of the Wild, they got vast, they got innovative, and it's just okay, so from here I access the paraglider. Okay, it's to go here. Straight ahead, I'll enter the village. 2 hours later, I literally screamed out, "Where the fuck am I?" I was following the path the strategy guide said to go to the village. And somehow I ended up getting lost.
Honestly, I just followed the objective marker.
There was an objective marker.
Are you referring to Breath of the Wild or? Yes. Yeah.
How come I never noticed it? Oh dear. Well, nonetheless, it's like, yeah, I'm like, would you say that like 2D to 3D counts more as a feature or a mechanic, if anything?
I guess it depends more on how much is put into it. Like, I'd say for something, say like, for like, say like when we were transitioned from like the early N64 games, I'd say that was be more of a mechanic because that was moving into something new. Like 3D, like was like moving into like that form of 3D was something completely like new. But now in like more modern days, like if it's mainly just used for say like graphics and stuff, I'd say it's more just a feature.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta take a moment to compliment Matt in his closet, by the way. That is the closet behind you that I'm looking at with the open door, right?
Well, it is the one directly behind me.
Yeah, because I'm seeing like 3 different doors, and I'm looking directly at the one behind you. I'm like, that's a nice looking closet, and I'm just thinking that I'm like, that is the closet, right?
You
It
see
looks
3, I see
It
4.
looks like the closet, but I could be wrong.
No. That all the way back there is the closet. That's the restroom, and then no. Yeah, that's the restroom.
Okay, open
And
door.
that's
Okay, open door to the side is the restroom. Open door directly behind you is the closet. And I
yeah.
assume what looks like a door frame on the opposite side of the doors is your window.
No, it's just the door to the rest of the apartment.
Okay, no. Okay. You see the open door that leads to the restroom, right?
Hmm.
Look towards the open door.
Yeah.
You're looking towards the open door?
Mm-hmm.
Now turn the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's a window, yes?
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's okay, everybody. That's the 10-cent tour of Matt's bedroom.
Yeah.
10 cents can be left on the doorstep. We'll pick it up later.
Yeah, just don't nickel and dime me.
We're not even big enough to consider improving the channel via Patreon yet. So fingers crossed, we'll get there.
You said that's a nickel and dime you, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay, pennies it is then.
Toss the pennies his way.
I joke.
Any more thoughts on good versus bad game design, or doth we move on?
I mean, if I could think of other examples of like ones, then I'd say it. But I'm drawing a bit of a blank. I think I've said everything I need to say.
I think I've said everything I needed to say too, unless we want to talk about different games and what features and whatnot we find good and bad in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, well, for me, just one quick thing is like games with like lots of bugs that don't get patched. Now,
Yeah.
there's I wouldn't necessarily call that bad game design, more like bad like they didn't do anything to alleviate it.
I
Bad
haven't
patchwork.
really followed since the disastrous launch, but hasn't Cyberpunk 2077 finally started ironing out the bugs, or did CD Projekt Red just be like, fuck you?
No.
They have.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
they fixed it. And
Yeah.
Game freak.
they recently released a new DLC for it that's like a whole new huge expansion called Phantom Liberty.
Mhm.
Well, they took the go big or go home approach.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that definitely can fall into that because I mean, there's like honestly with games, especially nowadays, there's always going to be like bugs or some like small glitches that like say, or even big glitches that sometimes could be like the developers never thought about it. But honestly, I don't think it falls into bad game design unless as we were saying before, if the developer never tries to fix it.
Right, because that video I was talking about that I watched last night, where the guy was like, "Well, obviously the game is good because it's selling."
Yeah.
He mentioned that it looks like Game Freak's not going to be patching out like visual glitches and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. My only exception to that sort of thing is if it's something that's literally they cannot patch out.
Yeah. And it's really more of like, it really goes into the argument that Game Freak doesn't care and they make bad games on purpose. Like, they know that these visual glitches are not good. They just don't bother because, well, we make trillions of dollars and you're just supposed to shut up and buy our product. They studied from Miyamoto's School of Arrogance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or from EA.
Yeah, because I don't know if they fixed this or not. It only affected less than 5% of people. But there was actually, when the DLC was announced back in February and a patch for the 2 new Paradox Pokemon went out, people lost their save data. Because when they downloaded the update, a bug in a deep coded level, on like a patch level, was corrupting people's save data. And it wasn't just a matter of, eject your game card, put it back. It was literally, if you got that save data corrupted message, there was only one fix. Delete your save data and start the game from the beginning. And Pokemon Bank is already out. It was already out at this point, mind you. So it's basically like, wait, was Pokemon Bank already out? Or was
I believe
Pokemon Home already out in February 2023?
I think so.
Well, if it was, then people could have lost Pokemon that they had transferred from other games that took them months or years to grind and level. It's like, I don't know if they ever patched that bug out or not. I heard it's very hard to do in a programming level, this type of bug. But it just goes to show that what they're doing, they see these kinds of issues and they refuse to do anything to fix it. That's not accidental. And I'm sorry to say it. I'm just going to flat out say it. They claim that they have time constraints by the Pokemon Company. They're lying. Flat out. Unless the president of the Pokemon Company himself says, yes, we do put these time constraints. Unless he comes out and makes a public statement. Game Freak is just scapegoating a company they own. And this is something we could talk about if we did like an in-depth Game Freak expose, but like, okay. They own the Pokemon Company. It is a joint ownership between 3 companies. That makes them the boss of the Pokemon Company. So the Pokemon Company telling them what to do, that would be like, Brent, if you told your supervisor what to do. Would you tell your supervisor how to do her job at work?
To do her full job, no. If it was something that's like I had discovered, like like if I was giving advice or something.
Yeah, we're talking about how to do her full job.
Her full job, definitely no.
That's basically what the Pokemon Company does when they are technically factually lower on the ladder than Game Freak and Nintendo. And it's like, so as far as I'm concerned, they don't have time constraints. They can say, hey, we need to patch these bugs out, Yeah. Because at the rate Game Freak's going, one day they're going to make a game that bricks whole Nintendo Switch systems. And at that point, if they don't listen, I would support a class action lawsuit that would get the games not just banned in America, but an embargo making importing the games from other countries illegal. Because, if I buy a Pokemon game and suddenly my Nintendo Switch system doesn't work, Nintendo had better be giving me a free fucking replacement, Yeah. Thankfully, I don't think Game Freak is that incompetent, but it really goes into like the good versus bad game design. Like the performance issues don't like the frame rate drops can be a problem, But like the visual glitches, like the Pokemon trainers turning into human rubber, that's more of an annoyance, I think. Like, nobody wants to see that in what's supposed to be the equivalent of a AAA game by Nintendo standards. But, I mean, like, I have this beautiful video on my Switch of my Scarlet Trainer flying through the air with no legendary ride Pokemon attached because the camera glitched out and Koraidon cannot be seen. Yeah. So, suffice to say, I found that mildly amusing. Yep. Yeah. Oof. All right, I think I've done my level of anti-Game Freak negativity bitching long enough. All right, so I guess let's move on to the next one. Brent, physical versus digital.
Okay, well, reason I chose this one is because I kind of wanted to hear what you guys had to say in regards to this, because physical and digital both have their pros and cons. In terms, I'll start with physical. Physical, for one thing, is that, well, it's still like a bit of a... It still harkens back to like the older days before digital even became a thing. You have a disc or a cartridge, you have a box, you can keep it for as long as you want to. And other thing about it is that it takes up less memory than it does for digital. Whereas the biggest con to that I would say for at least physical is that there's only so many copies. So let's say you wanted to get a game physically, but something prevents you from doing that. And by the time you're finally able to get it, to go try to get it, it's almost near impossible to get it.
I'm going to say, despite the hate I'm going to get for this is why I pre-order. You're guaranteed a copy.
Yeah, that too. But for me with digital, like I already gave its biggest con to it is that it takes up more memory than it is there because as opposed to like physical where the copy is on the cartridge or the disc, you have to download it into your system and that takes up the entire memory from there, whereas physical doesn't. But the other thing about digital is that you can basically don't have to face that problem of not being able to get the game. You can bring it in to digitally and all that stuff. Honestly, to me, it's more of a preference of which one you prefer.
Yeah,
I personally like to.
Oh, go ahead.
I personally like to do physical, but if it's for a game that I know is very hard to get, then I will do it digitally just so I can start playing the game. I might have to clear out some space, but I'll do it.
Yeah, like with Silent Hope, for example, I wanted to get that. I thought that game was going to be digital exclusive, but usually when Game Freak puts a physical GameStop puts a physical game on their website, usually that's an official copy. That's not like, oh, this is by limited run games, you know? The fact that I can go onto GameStop's website right now and pre-order a physical copy of Silent Hope means that Xseed is planning on releasing it physical. Thing is, since it is releasing in October, it's actually releasing on Tuesday, actually. I'm probably going to wait and get it digital. Normally, my reason for buy physical is because of, Brent, what you said about storage space and whatnot. Especially if you do a lot of Nintendo gaming. I have a 512 gigabyte SD card, but because of that chunk of space, okay, and Matt, you'll get where I'm going with this. So if anybody in the comments gets confused, translate, okay? But when you buy a 1 terabyte laptop and it says you only have 900 something gigabytes of free space, that chunk of free space that's missing is the system files and whatnot, you know? So it's that's even on a micro SD card external. I did not have 512 gigabytes right out the gate when I got my 512.
Yeah,
so it's
that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I have 300 something, you know? But Silent Hope is only 2 gigabytes worth of space, 1.9 approximately. That's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad. Barring update patches, that's the good way to go. Now, I don't know if this is an issue with Sony and Microsoft, but it is an issue with Nintendo. In 2017, I bought Rocket League, and then I bought a physical copy of it, right? When I put the physical copy into my game, the game card icon appears. But when I download the update patch, guess what happens? It downloads the digital software and no longer recognizes a physical card. So even if it would be better for me to get Silent Hope physical, like maybe like in like December, if there's nothing I want to buy in December for upcoming games, it will be too late once I get the digital copy. And I don't, like I said, have either of you experienced that where like you download a game digital, but then you get like a physical copy on a non-Nintendo system?
Well, I haven't.
I haven't. No. At least not on a Nintendo system. I have done it on like a Microsoft system.
Yeah, and it was never a problem on your Xbox?
No.
So like it would recognize the physical over the digital?
Yeah.
So that's just something that Nintendo needs to iron out then, you know? That's a big con for digital with Nintendo. And I am going to say, I think we can all agree the biggest con is when they shut down a storefront. Again, looking at you, Nintendo, because how many games from older systems on defunct storefronts do Sony and Microsoft bring over?
Well, Microsoft brings over practically all of them. Sony, not so much.
Maybe it's a cultural thing between, because, Microsoft is an American company, but Nintendo and Sony are Japanese. So maybe it's like a cultural difference type thing?
I don't know about that. I think it could just be a licensing thing.
Well, if I knew people from Japan, I would just ask, hey, what's the difference between an American company bringing all the games on their system over to a new system digitally, but Japanese companies not doing that? Like somebody who lives in Japan and knows the culture, because I only know what little about what I learned from like watching videos. I've never been, I don't know, but like if I had those connections, we'd have the answer to the problem, because I could just be like, so tell me a little bit about this. Is it a culture thing, or am I just thinking it is because two different countries? Yeah. It's like, but yeah, I mean, Matt, go with your pros and cons.
Well, I think that digital is the way to go, but only if you can get if you can back up the files like you can with like good old games.
Yeah.
Like, then you can download the game and you can store it wherever and install it whenever and wherever. But you can't do that with but with on consoles and stuff. Obviously, you can't do that. So in that case, I prefer physical where possible.
Yeah. It's like, I will say on the digital versus physical, one thing that has me thrown through a loop, Fantasy Life had a physical release in 3DS. For some reason, Level 5 is making The Girl Who Steals Time digital only, which is odd. Because I'd have to actually like see like a ROM dump of the file size of Fantasy Life. But they're obviously putting an effort to make a much bigger game for the Switch. And I'm actually gonna look. So it never bookmarked the page. Yeah, let's see how big this game is scheduled to be at launch.
If I'm gonna guess,
Never mind.
probably only be like 2 or 3 gigabytes.
I hope it's only 2 or 3 gigabytes, because if it's like 15, 20 gigabytes, it's like, I mean, come on, not everybody can afford a 1 terabyte SD card, and not everybody can afford like a 512. Some people are stuck with, and the biggest issue that I have with the smaller space is and this is something that I was going to bring up for a bonus topic, but I'll bring it up now. And again, apparently it's pick on Nintendo night, but like And I know it's a matter of opinion on when a game is a must-have and when it's not, but I feel that Nintendo releases way too many must-haves too close together. Like, I will openly say that even though I have my opinions that everyone's aware of on a motion control only game on the Switch, I feel that both Super Mario RPG and WarioWare Move It are considered must-haves, and they're both releasing the same month. Unless you've got a really good paying job and enough free time, you can't get both. And if you do get both, it boils down to if you end up getting one of them digitally. Like, the main reason that I prefer physical, and another, I said the main reason I pre-order is because I'm not going to worry about missing out, but there's another reason. It's like, maybe it's just as a gamer and a collector, I just don't like the generic boxes with the generic print-ups in them, I like my games to have their actual, and sometimes a game sells out too quickly and they just don't bother to restock. And then a person goes out of their way to throw their box away. They throw their box away, and then they sell just the digital media, and GameStop has to break out a generic case. Yeah. So it's like, for people who like having a nice, aesthetically pleasing collection to look at when you go over to the game shelf with your friends to select a game. Okay, that's the one point where we pick on Sony and Microsoft. How many people actually do local multiplayer on PlayStation and Xbox systems these days?
I think it really depends on the game.
Like with they have local multiplayer, but I never see anybody using local multiplayer unless they're playing on a Nintendo console. It's like, oh, I want to play with my local friends. I'm going to see if they can get online. Why not just invite them over? Make like a lunch day out of it or something,
Yeah, well, I mean...
Oh, go ahead.
Some people, it's just like, they just... If their friends are far away or something nowadays, or, who knows?
Let's say that your friend lives in the same apartment complex as you. Yeah. Have we really become that antisocial that instead of going out and spending time with people, we'd rather just talk with them virtually like the three of us are doing right now?
No, I just think, I really don't know.
Well, I've always said Nintendo's the last bastion of local multiplayer because I never hear anybody with a PlayStation or an Xbox actually doing local multiplayer. And technically, Brent, us getting together with Stefan and gaming technically doesn't count because we're just hanging out playing physical games. Like when I tried out the prologue tutorial of Ghosts of Tsushima. Sometimes you gotta enunciate, It's like with that, it's like, what gives? Like you don't want to play Call of Duty split screen with your friends and just like throw popcorn at each other in person? Yeah. But yeah, it's like, and I will say this, I think one of the biggest cons of physical is the fact that, with like disk damage, and then B, with everything, decays and breaks down internally over time.
Yeah.
I'm going to come out and be controversial right here, right now. And I know different countries, different laws. So countries that outsource their product to other countries would have to work together. But the only way to truly, because right now there's no legal way to do digital game preservation outside of trying to keep your systems from decaying. All forms of non-console based game preservation for digital is all technically piracy right now. I think it's time that various countries came together and made ROMs legal for preservation purposes. You can say that current generation game ROMs are illegal, no problem. But like Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Atari, PlayStation 1, make it legal for people to download and experience those games if you're not going to make them permanently available on each new system, you know? And a lot of people I know in the comments can argue, well, it's about corporate greed and capitalism. They don't want you playing those older games because why bother buying a new game or a new system? Because you want to play the old and you want to play the new. Like game preservation, making it so that older games can be enjoyed permanently long term for all future generations of humanity is not going to prevent people from buying older systems. From buying newer systems. People will still buy newer systems and play newer games. Yeah, so, that's basically just, corporations making excuses. That everybody knows are not true. Yeah. All right, just because we are getting into the 45-minute territory and we are going to be going over into one of the more longer videos, I think we're going to be going. I think we're setting a record going closer to an hour over tonight. But, unless you guys have more to say on the physical digital, let's move on.
I got nothing more.
All right, Matt, please open our eyes to the wonderful world of strategy guides. And yes, I am currently playing the 3DS remake. That's why I have this out of the closet right now.
Yeah, strategy guides. I'd say they're they used to be my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I still like them, but it's hard to find good, solidly made ones nowadays. Physical.
Remake games, cough, cough.
Yeah, like I had the Final Fantasy X strategy guide, and that practically told you everything about it. It was amazing. And also had a original Street Fighter 2 Turbo strategy guide, and that taught you exactly how to play the game to be an expert at it.
Oh, speaking of one other thing to do show and tell with, remember when we talked about instruction booklets? It's a little piece of my childhood.
Yeah.
And yes, it came in this packaging. Like the guy who sold this to me put it in this packaging. Oh yeah. I mean, this was your base tutorial of the controls, and the strategy guide went more in depth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I said in the comments, not in the comments, in the description, wasn't like Sword and Shield the last real strategy guide to be published?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are way too many games coming out, and there's like, maybe it's just like the argument of like, oh, well, everybody goes online to get their information now. Why should we bother wasting paper? It's like, I want to get, and they're way too expensive for me. Like, I want to get like a Super Mario RPG strategy guide and a Paper Mario 1,000-Year Door strategy guide because I like using guides for bigger RPGs, Get my bearings, seek out the hidden items, And what if I'm in a position where I can't look up the information on Game FAQs or YouTube? Yeah, I mean, there's still benefits to owning guides. And when I was a kid, for like the systems that I didn't own, I'd still buy strategy guides for games just to look over and learn about the games that I wanted to play, but only to do when I was with friends and their systems, Yeah. Yeah. But Brent, strategy guides, go.
Well, I'm personally in the area of kind of sad now that they aren't around because strategy guides were definitely a big thing for me when I was younger. I mean, I had one for like see, I'm trying to think of ones that came to me that I did own. I owned Legend of Zelda ones, specifically Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. I had a 2-in-1 for both Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion because they both came out around the same time.
Was that the Versus Book brand?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I used to have a Sonic Advance X Sonic Adventure 2 Versus Book. And even Pokemon Gold and Crystal had a Versus Book for it. Sorry, Gold and Silver had a Versus Book for it for some reason.
Yeah, I also had Pokemon Versus ones as well for Gold and Silver and Ruby and Sapphire.
No, man. Yeah, because I will say, like, I mean, they even if you didn't own the games, they were fun to collect, and like, especially like the first 2 generations of Pokemon, when they were still doing the watercolor artwork. Like, if I still had like my old Gold and Silver Versus book, like just being able to check out that old school watercolor art would be cool in and of itself, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I do still have the Prima guide for Crystal. You know? Yeah. But the only thing about like, you know, like physical books is like, even with like hardcovers, like my D&D stuff back there, it's like they fall apart as they age. Whereas like a PDF, you can just print up the pages and like, you know, stick them into like a folder, you know, but still, I mean, in the pre-internet days and like the internet infancy of the 90s and early 2000s even, I can still remember that strategy guides, they were the way to go. If you needed help, you either called the Nintendo tip line or you cracked open a strategy guide and like, you know, looked over what you needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And screenshots too. It's like I got the Paper Mario strategy guide way back in the day as a kid. I still have it, and I've actually been doing a little bit of both, like Superstar Saga and Paper Mario on NSO. And I remember loving seeing like you know, like, and actually let me confirm because I have the Prima guide here too, but I believe the scene of Merlin asking why someone is sleeping in front of his house is in this guide. Let's see, this is Toad Town, Master's Dojo, Rusty. Okay, that's Cooper Brothers Fortress. So, all right, so a few pages back. Let's see, that's one of Junior Troopa screaming full power. Holy shit! Apparently they. Oh yeah, right here on page 18. It's Merlin with an unconscious Mario asking why someone's sleeping. Like it's like screenshots like that, even if they're a little bit spoilery. Like just seeing those amusing screenshots really nailed home like the comedy of the game. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like. So you know, I collected strategy guides, and if I owned the games, I could use them. If not, like I bought like this Paper Mario strategy guide I have had since I was in like late elementary school, early middle school. And now that I can play the game on NSO right now, good thing I bought it way back when.
Yeah.
Yep. So. Yeah. Yeah, Matt, tell us about some of your favorite guides and memories of guides.
Oh, well, one of them was like the Street Fighter 2 guide, like I said.
Yeah.
And the other one was like the Mario 3 by Nintendo guide. I had that
like
one.
The original NES, Super Mario Brothers 3?
Yeah.
Nice.
And let's see. You know, I didn't have a lot of strategy guides other than the Street Fighter, Mario, and Final Fantasy X guide.
I have like a Tupperware of strategy guides, and I actually had to get rid of some to reduce the weight of it, and it's still pretty fucking heavy.
Yeah.
I should know.
But I did buy a lot of Nintendo Powers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Nintendo
Like
Power.
made a full guide, you mean?
No. Like the individual magazines.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, just putting something into my notes for future episodes.
Oh.
But yeah, no, it's Slimy Cheesecake says Super Futurama Brothers. If that's Fry and Bender, why the hell not? Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah, because I know Nintendo Power, like my Superstar Saga guide is the official guide from Nintendo Power, but it's not an issue of Nintendo Power itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I asked for the clarification when he said Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, other than Nintendo Power, like I said, I didn't really have much. So, but I
Yeah.
did really enjoy them when I looked at them, like at the mall and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, didn't like the earlier issues just put like a few maps of a few levels, like in the
Yeah.
actual issues?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
actually, they did pretty much for every issue. They included strategy stuff.
Yeah, but not like a full guide from beginning to end of the game, unless like the publisher did like the separate stuff. Yeah. Because I know, like, I have a Nintendo Power Super Mario Advance 2 Super Mario World strategy guide from back in the day that actually has like a bunch of magazine advertisements for other games and blurbs in it, but it's an actual strategy guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have some of my older Nintendo Power issues from the DS and 3DS era. And like my all-time two favorites are the ones that paid homage to the Super Nintendo and the Game Boy. Like those systems I grew up with, I love taking the trip down memory lane and looking them over. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I already the bonus topic because we had already discussed it a little bit earlier. When game companies put out a lot of big must-have releases too close together?
Well, one of the bigger times is usually around the holidays, especially.
I meant like in general. Like think about it. Like okay, for October, here's what's releasing: Silent Hope, Sonic Superstars, Mario Wonder. Is there anything else, digital or physical, coming out on Nintendo systems in October?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And then you have November, you have Super Crazy Rhythm Castle. Yes, I finally double-checked the name of the game. Hogwarts Legacy, WarioWare Move It, and Super Mario RPG. Yeah, four games coming out. As to whether or not they're must-haves, eye of the beholder and whatnot, but like at the very least for November, if you own a Nintendo system, what are you doing not picking up RPG and WarioWare? Again, going back to the whole, why didn't they just make it like motion controls turned on and off for like handheld mode? Besides the game being named Move It. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, could they benefit from like staggering release schedules and like maybe just one new game this month and then a couple of months from now this big title?
Probably because they also have other releases. That. I mean, they just have like a release schedule that they have to follow, so it's not like they can just say, delay it until
If they wanted to delay a game, they could. It's like because like I always say, and if I haven't been saying it on the channel, I need to be saying it more. Investors don't play games. So it's time for the companies to stand up and say to the investors, and this is especially a problem with like rushed games. We had to rush the game because our investors would have pulled the money. You go up to them and you say, we need to make a quality product. If that means this bun needs more time in the oven, you can be as patient as possible. You can wait so we can iron out these bugs. We can make sure that everything's working properly. Because if an investor is going to try to force you to release a bad quality product because all they care about is money, they shouldn't be worth having as an investor, Yeah, it's like with Animal Crossing New Horizons, they delayed the release because they wanted to put more polish into the game. Like, Even if a game is ready to go, it's like people on YouTube always say, this next set of Nintendo games this month, your wallet is going to be in agony. Yeah. Like, chill out. I don't think this is a problem with Sony and Microsoft. Again, I think this is just a Nintendo thing. I mean, how often do you see like 10 brand new games releasing in a month span? In one.
I mean, there was Starfield, and then there was also Baldur's Gate 3. That came out.
Does that happen regularly with like non-Nintendo systems?
I don't think as often.
Yeah, with like Nintendo, I do think they overdo it a little because and again, that could go back to like Miyamoto's arrogance and whatnot, but it's like, oh, we got to get all these games out. Wait, why is nobody playing this game? Because they didn't buy it. Why didn't they? Because they bought this game and they can't afford to buy this game. And even if they can afford to buy this game, they can't get it because either A, they don't have access to the internet and can't download it digitally, or B, slow down.
Well, I mean, isn't Silent Hope not a Nintendo game, though?
It's not, but it's coming out on Nintendo consoles. Like, I don't know if it's coming on to other systems or not.
Well, it's
the only
at
thing
Seed,
I know,
so
what?
It's at Seed, so probably on other stuff too.
Yeah, because the only thing I know is that it's apparently a spin-off of Rune Factory. Yeah. But it's like, but is there anything else coming out in October on other systems?
I'm pretty sure there is, but I'd have to look it up.
And if there's not, but it's because it's like, yeah, and Silent Hope, I wouldn't say it's a must-have in general. I mean, I found the concept of the game interesting. I loved what I saw at the Direct when it was announced. I'm going to give it an honest try, but it's like, and Sonic Superstars also iffy, we all know how Sonic Team feels about Sonic. He can get fucked. But Super Mario Brothers Wonder, out of those three, the only 100% must-have, I think, for Nintendo owners is Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Silent Hope and Sonic Superstars, eye of the beholder. If you think they're must-haves, get them. If not, hey, at least you got Wonder.
Oh, here's a game coming out in October. Let's see. Forza Motorsport, October 10th on PC and Xbox.
Is Silent Hope coming to the Xbox too?
Hold on, let me check.
I got something if it is. I'll double check too, because
I don't think it is, but it is coming out on Steam.
Well, if it's coming out on Xbox, here's the question. Why? Yes, we finally get to stop picking on Nintendo for a change. Seriously. Everybody who owns an Xbox in the comments below. Do you play games like Ace Attorney? Do you play games like Final Fantasy? Parade Day. Oh, wait, no, I get it. Parade Day from Futurama. Happy Parade Day. Why aren't the three of us out in the streets?
Because we're here.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, seriously. I feel that games like RPGs and whatnot, I just don't see them selling on Xbox. Maybe it's just like a Florida thing, but around here, nobody with an Xbox buys Kingdom Hearts 3. Nobody wants to bother with Ace Attorney. If you own a Nintendo or a PlayStation, yeah, those are the games you buy. But around here, the only games that sell on the Xbox are Call of Duty and sports games. I mean, like Slimy Cheesecake says, everybody wanted a parade, so they had one parade one day, one parade the next day. Finally, they're just like, fuck it. Let's put all the parades into one day. And that's how holidays are born.
Well, evidently the Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest sell well enough on Xbox because
Well, color me surprised.
there's evidently. I mean, when I went on the digital store, they started putting more RPGs on there.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, I mean, again, that's probably like nation or worldwide data. But I'm out. The only real game from like a Japanese company I've seen sell on the Xbox is like the Sonic stuff. Because everybody loves the blue hedgehog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you love to make fun of him or you just love his games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Ooh. Anyway, we got time to discuss more on the matter, or are we pretty much wrapping it up for the night?
I've
I'd
got
say-
nothing more to say.
Me either.
All right. Well, hopefully everybody will be looking forward to the Let's Play that we have planned for October. I'm not going to give anything away. It's to say there's a reason that I have not put up the playlist yet. Don't want to spoil the surprise. But we're going to be getting to do the filming on Saturday, and we will see you all in the next Gaming Knuckleheads talk.
Mm-hmm.
So, as always, let us know your thoughts on the topics in the comments below. If you've got to skim through the video to listen to what we're talking about in general, to bring your opinion or insult me, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we will see you all in the next one, and no promises just yet. Fingers crossed. We're going to try to get the Metal Slugathon back up on Sunday night. So,
Mm-hmm.
fingers crossed there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, see you all later.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye.